Hey everyone, it's Sonia here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of our podcast of the Fresh Approach Fitness, a wellness company. Oops, I did it again. It's actually Fresh Approach Wellness. Still working on that name change. After 15 years of saying Fresh Approach Fitness, it flows off the tongue, but we all know by now my studio is not in existence anymore. I don't just do fitness, so it's Fresh Approach Wellness. Um, so oops, I did it again. There we go. A little humor. Y'all heard me sing and dance now a little bit. For those that are catching this, we do have another guest with us today. This is episode 152. We're going to talk about becoming friends with food. Um, Very, very fitting. And it doesn't matter who you are or how this plays in with your lifestyle. We all want to be friends with food. So, heart to hearts mean that this is available through video on YouTube, or you can just listen on your favorite audio component. Audio platform is what I meant to say. So, with no further ado, Carly, welcome, welcome. Please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And I'm really looking forward to talking about this subject with you. My name is Carly Pepin, and I'm a human behavior specialist. I work with individuals and groups, and I work with them to just help them overcome the challenges, the stressors that are causing them any pain in life that's preventing them from doing what they would really love, which, as we know, often is hiding in the back end and sometimes really stressful with food and fitness and health. So I'm really grateful that you're bringing these topics to the table.
So important, isn't it? I mean, we were talking behind the scenes about previous experiences of your previous experiences you were sharing with us. Can you take a minute? Are you comfortable sharing with our audience your background and why you have decided to spread the message?
Yes, absolutely. So I was sharing with you in my background, I did have an eating disorder. I definitely had the overeating, the binging, and then I would do the purging. And my way of purging was through exercise, through diuretics. Sometimes it would be through, diet medication, which I don't know how I convinced my doctor to give me, but I somehow convinced him to give me diet medication. And it's quite interesting because as I was going through kind of the traditional methodologies, one thing that I found is it just kept increasing the guilt and the shame I had for what I was going through on the back end. And that was probably impacting me the most. So finding these alternative solutions to shift our mindset around it has been really instrumental in playing a role in completely overcoming it. Because I do remember sitting with in many different situations, but one situation comes to mind where someone told me that it's something that I have to live with for the rest of my life, and that will always be afraid of our fridge and freezer. And I thought, no way, no way. I just cannot believe that that's my destiny. I just cannot believe that that's what I have to live with. So finding those alternative solutions to help us with our mindset and knowing out there as well, like if that's something that you've encountered, it's not something that you have to live with forever. I have certainty.
That's huge. And there are so many reasons why women, people, would step into this space. And the reason why I shifted to people is because I know some men that did the same thing. Um, Completely different mindset with the person that they were. And they believed at the time that this was their only solution. Was that the same with you? Did you believe that this was your only solution, binging and purging?
Yes, that's kind of how I thought was the only way I could manage food and manage my weight, because I didn't know how to stop with the binging. And so because I didn't know how to stop the binging, I had to use the purging, and the purging was such an extreme. So it was the only thing that I understood. And you are absolutely right. It's not only happening with women, but it is happening with men as well. Sometimes men are uncomfortable coming forward about it, but it's very common for men to have body dysmorphia, to be uncomfortable in their own skin. And it doesn't make you any different than any human being on the planet. It's actually incredibly common.
But it's interesting, right? As to what got you started. So can we, excuse me, can we go back to the beginning and find out what got you started on this journey of changing your relationship with food? So bring us to the very beginning.
Yes. So definitely in the beginning, I was kind of going towards the traditional types of therapies, and I was connecting with individuals who I remember just sometimes would just talk about things, and I would get out there and I'd be like, I feel like I solved nothing. Like I just talked about a lot of stuff, but I didn't really get an outcome. And then after that, I decided I was going to try to go to a specialist, an eating disorder specialist. And that's when the food journal started. And for anyone who has done a food journal, I call it a shame journal because you just sit there and you look at everything that you've done and you beat yourself up. And I was like, this isn't working. I'm just murdering myself and hating myself for this food journal. And then I threw that out the window because I was like, I'm done with this one. I started trying to go to like the eating disorder anonymous classes. And I wanted to do that as well, just because I thought, you know what, I've never tried this before. Let me just try this one. So I went and I tried that. And it was really fascinating because again, that was where someone said like you'll never be okay with your refrigerator. You'll always be okay with your refrigerator. And when I was hearing everyone's stories, again, I didn't feel like any progress was being made. We just kept talking about the pain and talking about the shame. And I thought to myself, like, there has to be more. There has to be more, right? So I actually moved out of the country at a certain point, and well, I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried this before, but when you think your life is terrible and then you completely move and you realize all your problems follow you, that was me. So all my problems followed me to an entirely different country. But the great thing about that is that it pushed me to seek outside my comfort zone. And I found a coach. When I looked at the bulletin board, I got like stuck at a yoga studio. It was awesome. It was perfect timing. And it was the first time I looked at the yoga studio bulletin board, and she had listed all the things she had with an eating disorder and how she felt around it, and specifically what she overcame. And I just looked at it and I thought to myself, what the heck? I said, this is exactly how I feel. This is exactly what I've been trying to overcome. I was like, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna try this woman. This is my first coach I ever tried. And it was fascinating because she approached it in an entirely different way. It wasn't about focusing on the food, beating myself up for the food. It was about actually focusing on what was important in my life. It was about focusing on my purpose. It was about finding things that were fulfilling to me and altering my relationship with food and exercise. It was altering my relationship with myself, increasing self-love. And that's actually what wound up shifting my eating disorder. It was amazing. And it, by the way, it's so much more fun than food journals and beating myself up. It was so much more fun.
So you are redirected. You are redirected to think differently, especially in the areas of finding of self-love and joy. And I know you didn't say this, but based on the work I do with my clients, I know that food, purging, binging, the binging piece especially is an addiction, right? How old were
Yes.
you when you first started, or when you first noticed that this was becoming a habit?
Yeah, I was actually pretty young. So I was about 12, between 12 and 13 when it started to become a real habit. And there were some things going on in my life now. And this goes along that it's not really about the food, it's about what the food does for us. And the food was a resource and a tool that I was using to help me stop feeling. Because if I felt full, or I felt whatever the food was doing to me, right? Like sometimes you eat too much dairy or too much wheat or too much sugar, and it gives you a different feeling than what you're actually, the emotion that you're feeling. So I had gone through my own trauma during that time, and the food was a remedy. That was my remedy at that time to help me process what I was feeling and push down something that was too much for me. So that's like when I say like those food journals, I do not like food journals, and I don't support them, because if I'm eating a ton of food and not understanding why I'm doing it, I'm just going to think I'm weak, I'm helpless, that the food controls me. But the reality is I'm actually in control of the quantity I'm eating, and I'm choosing to eat it as a result of what it's doing for me. And back then, it was helping me to push down kind of this pain and the emotions that I didn't understand and I didn't know how to handle. That was it.
And, and it can be that simple. And an addiction,
Yeah.
I want to remind our audience of this. An addiction is an addiction is an addiction. It really doesn't matter what you are addicted to. So you've been listening for a while, or if you're brand new listening to this podcast, I talk about 4 pillars, creating a strong foundation of 4 pillars: meals, movement, mindset, and your relationship with money. And think of a strong structure. Think of your root chakra. The stronger these 4 pillars are ingrained, you can't get knocked down when life goes your way, when you're thinking of all of these variables. And you started at such a young age. And in this case, this is a food addiction. And for some other people, it might show up as a different kind of addiction. We've seen this go to the polar opposite, and you've chatted about this, Carly. Exercise. You'll see this in a lot of people as a way of combating their food addiction, is making it become an exercise addiction now, because they're burning off every calorie. And there are some amazing books that I'm going to pull one out as a reference that I've read about this, that talks about even celebrities that you would not think have this underlying concern. So this is a widely known problem, not any different than AA, right? Not any different than spending, whatever it is. An addiction is an addiction is an addiction. So a couple things that you mentioned that I want to hyper focus on a little bit. How does food make you feel now?
I love food. I'm back to the core of who I am. I'm Italian and actually French Canadian, but I grew up with
Okay.
Italian roots. So we are just back to loving food.
Uh-huh.
I don't get mad at it anymore. If I have a day where I'm like a little bit off, it's not even that I'm off. I just ask myself like, oh, why did I do this? How did this benefit me today?
Okay.
And it's actually kind of cool because I get to see how the food is serving me. And it's just, I can't express this enough. When you understand how this, as you say, like addiction, right,
Yes.
is serving you, you actually get to use it as a tool. Like it becomes a tool and something that you get to play with and experience and enjoy in your life. But yeah, I love food and I just love it. It's an experience.
I am listening 100%, guys. For those that are watching on YouTube, I am listening. Headphones are in. Carly's speaking. I am looking for this book. This is the problem when you're a self-proclaimed athletic geek. You have so many books. You know where it is. I know I didn't get rid of it. So I'm gonna ask Carly another question, and I'm gonna dig for it again while she's talking here. So
Okay.
I love what you said about food being, you love food. You're back to the point where you love food.
Mhm.
Food is included in so many areas of our lives. We are taught to celebrate with food, whether it's good news or bad news, whether it's a wedding or a funeral. We are always celebrating with food. Food isn't something that we can escape from. So, how did you start your self-love journey with food and with yourself,
Yeah.
but
So
with food being part of it? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
A little bit both. The first and most biggest component for anyone out there is getting connected with what's important to you. Because if you're bored, if you're uninspired, if you're unfulfilled, you literally are unfull, right? Unfulfilled. So you are going to fill yourself with some outside source to try to fill in that gap. Right. So right now you're going to be accommodating with food. And like you said, it could be another addiction, but today we're talking about food. So when you're unfulfilled, you're going to be filling yourself and trying to make yourself fulfilled with food. The reality is a big component getting clear with who you are, getting clear with what you love, getting clear with what's important to you, and fill your day with all those various things. Because if every day you filled your day with everything that you love, whatever that means to you, guess what's going to wind up happening? You're not going to think about food to the same degree because you're going to be busy doing things that are inspiring to you. So that's actually one really important component. And when I say whatever that is to you, like, you were talking about like all your fitness books that you love. I hope you're reading every day. Chances are I'm going to guess that you love studying and you love reading
I
and you
don't love
love learning.
studying, but I love
So
reading and I love learning. Yes,
yeah,
but
around reading and
studying,
learning. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you actually reading and learning every day is going to be fulfilling for you, right? And you
Yeah.
don't have to have the food because you're feeling full with inspiration. So that's actually a bigger component than you think. One of the biggest things that helped myself and others transform was doing that. The other component is starting to see how it serves you. Like asking that question when you're, instead of sitting there beating yourself up, you're not going to get over any addiction if you just sit there and beat yourself up the whole time. You're going to hate yourself. You're going to put yourself down. You're actually going to kill your self-confidence, your self-esteem. You're going to create additional limiting beliefs in all other areas of life if you don't give yourself permission to see that you are actually an empowered individual choosing to eat food for specific reasons. So when you find out how it serves you, you're getting to see what it's actually doing for you. And then you can find alternative options. You know, like I was saying before, in the past, I was utilizing it as a tool to push down my emotions. So when I learned that, I was like, great, how else can I work with my emotions when they come up? Because, like, as you mentioned in the beginning, life isn't about being perfect every day. Life ebbs and flows. I don't have an unrealistic expectation that every day I'm going to wake up and be like perfect and happy and bubbly, right? Some days are harder than others. And on those harder days, how do I ebb and flow with the emotions? And instead of using food now, because I know now that's what the food was a tool for, I can utilize something else. I put alternative solutions in place. And addiction is there because it's giving you something, it's serving you and assisting you. The minute that you understand how it's doing that, you can put alternative solutions in that work better for you based on your own current lifestyle. So that's also a very cool component. And also not beating yourself up if this doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly. Not
Stuff
beating
takes
yourself
time.
up. It does
Yeah.
take time. Okay, so her name used to be, and it's changed. It's now Portia de Rossi. Do you know who she is?
Oh, yes, I do. She's Ellen DeGeneres's wife.
Yes. And she played an
Yes.
Ally McBeal. And there's an amazing book, which I can't find in my bookshelf. It's probably right in front of me. Um, Unbearable Lightness. And I'm wondering if I lent it to somebody. But now that I know what it's called, I'm going to link it to the show notes. And I'm going to see if I can
Awesome.
put up a picture here for those that are watching it. Unbearable Lightness. And she talked in this book. See, this is what happens when you're an athletic geek, by the way. Yes. Last year in 2022, I read over 31 books.
That's awesome.
And this book I read probably over 10 years ago. And this is what happens now is I can figure out who wrote it, what each book is all about, and it's this is where the geekiness comes into play. um, Not something I would ever really have traditionally categorized myself in, but there's so much truth to it. So in this book,
Yeah.
we actually talked about going as far as eating negative calories. Do you want to explain what that is to everybody?
Yeah, that would mean that she's actually burning off more calories than she's eating. And at her, I mean, if anyone knows her at her weight, that would be pretty extreme. That would be pretty extreme, which makes sense why it's called unbearable lightness,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that means, yeah, and that's a lack of nutrition. Like you'll be really pushing back your nutritional content, which impacts you in so many other areas. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about both extremes here. I remember she quoted in that book that
Mhm.
she would intentionally eat celery because it consumed more calories to eat the celery, to digest the celery than it did to actually not eat the celery. And the same thing with constantly chewing gum because chewing gum would burn like 15 calories and it would all add up
Yes.
to her, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking about that extreme and how that's not going to make you feel good because like you just said the nutritional
Mhm.
context, but when we take it to the other side of the spectrum and binge, and I'm going to go there with everybody, binge on a bag of jelly beans that I'm showing everybody right now. One of my favorite treats. Nobody likes it, but every single day that I decide to binge on those,
Mhm.
I get tired. I lose my energy.
Yeah.
I don't feel well. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that I've had 3 or 4 cups of water. As soon as that sugar hits my system, okay, maybe an hour or two later, not immediately,
Mhm.
but by the time it starts to go through me a little bit, there's an immediate impact. So share with us
Yeah.
those two extremes in your life as well.
Yeah, so definitely I had those extremes. My biggest one was cheese. I loved cheese, like no joke. It was definitely an issue. You know those Costco blocks of cheese?
Yeah.
I would sit down and eat it in one sitting. So
The
that was
big
my
ones
like,
that are like thick.
yes,
Oh, in one
yes.
sitting, like
Yeah,
a
in one
chipmunk.
sitting. I would just sit there and I'd like cut up pieces and then I just consistently keep going back to the fridge until it was gone. And I remember my mom just being there like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, don't do it. Don't say anything." Because I knew I just would feel guilt and shame and hate myself, right? She was pretty great with it and helpful as I was like moving through that journey. So after that, I would over exercise, right? I would do crazy boot camp classes. I might also accommodate by getting the diet pills from doctors and doing the extremes and kind of trying to like get it out of my system, get it out of my system. So starving myself afterward, trying to consume less calories than I was actually intaking to an extreme. So when we're doing those extremes, what's interesting is it also affects our mindset. It affects our day-to-day, it affects our emotions. Because remember, as you were saying, like the sugar gives you the crash and burn. And then kind of like, when I was accommodating with the other components, I would get really cranky and I would get really moody because I was starving, right? I was also starving. So I'd go from being really full to really starving. And those extremes definitely can have an impact on every day in our life, right? It can be quite challenging. So it's interesting, like how we all kind of pull it forward in our own forms. But again, it's not something you have to have forever. A really great tool that I'm telling you, it's so simple, but I think part of growing up in Los Angeles, it was really helpful. Los Angeles, people do think of it as kind of a place where there's a lot of vain people, but I will tell you, it's not the vanity so much. What I really realized is that people who congregate there, since it's such an outdoor community, like on weekends or weekdays, like what you do for fun is you like, I'm going to go play beach volleyball. I'm going to go rollerblade or bike ride on the boardwalk. Like it's a really outdoor community. So it attracts a lot of individuals who have a high value on health and fitness and that kind of component. And what I learned as a result of that, since so much of that congregates there, is that as opposed to trying to repress anything that you try to repress is going to express itself to a greater degree. So like, even if I'm trying to repress having some sort of treat or candy or sugar, it's going to come out and it's going to be extreme because it's natural for us to have like these certain things going on in our life. I find alternatives. I 100% have alternative solutions in my life. And even just getting off sugar, like I don't really eat sugar anymore. I have alternative sugars, but every morning I have honey and I make sure that it's local honey from like Southern California, which also, guys, like nipped my allergies in the butt. Like that nipped my seasonal allergies in the butt. One of my friends who's a health nut told me about that. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And then all of a sudden I wasn't getting like seasonal allergies. And on top of that, I stopped craving refined sugar and I wasn't even planning on that. So every day I have like cacao because I'm obsessed with chocolate, you guys. I'm obsessed with it. I have like cacao and I put it in almond milk and I have honey and I put like some superfoods in there and I just sit there and I drink like my hot chocolate, my organic-y, like healthy hot chocolate every morning. And every day I have chocolate, like every single day. Find the alternatives. I feel fulfilled every morning when I wake up and have chocolate.
Well, let's talk about that. We're talking about being friends with food, and everything that
Yeah.
you in there sounds delicious. To the people listening to this, I'm sure it's going to sound delicious to them too, because they are looking for these simple solutions in their life to make it that much easier, right? So cacao is good. Superfoods is good. And
Cacao.
as you were describing that, I'm like, it doesn't have it's changed from when we were 12, right? And we were going through puberty at 12 in one way, shape, form, or another. Most people are. And society's expectations, our parents' expectations, this heavy load that we end up carrying with us, carries with us for the rest of our lives. So it's not a matter of things not tasting good or bad. It's a matter of finding what works for you. Jelly beans, I just shared two things. My personal favorite, and it doesn't do anything for me. It's a short-term pleasure, right? So are grapes,
Mhm.
so are blueberries. But when you were talking about your breakfast, I'm like, oh, I did not have my shake today. So that's what's next is and it's almost 3:45 my time here, or 20, like it's my point is it's not morning and I can still have my shake. Like there are some non-negotiables when it comes to being friends with food. And for me, that is filling my cup first. And that's kind of what I'm hearing with you too, is you're filling your cup with foods that provide those nutrients to eliminate those cravings that are to come.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Eliminating the cravings while still being what you want. Whatever
yeah.
you love, ask yourself, how can I create a healthy alternative? And
Yes.
just do it. And I'm telling you, there's so much out there nowadays for you to be able to do that. It's insane.
And it doesn't have to be artificial and it doesn't have to taste bad. There are so many, like dates are
No,
amazing. I love dates.
so good. Yeah, they're so good. And you just eat one and you're like, this is so sweet. It's like having a piece of candy.
And then there's a book I have
Mhm.
upstairs, Food as Fuel, I think. And dates is their main foundation for cooking all of
Yeah.
these ingredients, or for cooking and for baking. I will include this in the show notes as well. Okay, so honey, for those that are not aware, you do want to eat local homegrown honey as close to you as possible. Not only does it help with seasonal allergies, I mean, not only is it good for the environment, not only is it good for your local farmers markets or who's ever close to you, but the bees go around nesting in the flowers that are local to you. So me going to California and getting Carly's honey isn't going to do me any justice at all. To prevent anything that could be coming your way, you definitely want to focus on local honey. It makes a big, big difference. Same thing with maple syrup, actually, another natural sweetener. You're laughing. Go ahead, share with us
I love that one. It's so good.
what
Yeah.
maple syrup.
Um, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, it's like a different glycemic index than regular sugar. And I think the biggest key is sugar has this addictive quality, and it does something to our brains where it's making it almost like it taps into our amygdala. It's just like, gosh, it's like an orgasm. But if we get addicted to that particular type, you're going to start seeking all these outside sources of sugar. The crazy thing is it takes, I think it's 10 days for your taste buds to rebuild. Like I think it's every 10 days they die. I'm not 100% sure, but guys, go Google it because it's really not that often. So like if you stayed off sugar for 10 days and you switched to an alternative source, you actually would get off sugar far more quickly than you think. And your taste buds would readjust to this new source. And then you don't even crave. I'm telling you, it's the weirdest thing. Like I'm a sugar nut growing up. I don't crave sweets that much. Like it's kind of so rare. I don't sit there and be like, I need something sweet anymore since I switched to the other sugars. So if you're thinking like, oh, but I can't get off it because I'm like addicted to sweets and I love sweets and stuff. And I love like I crave it all the time. It's like, just give yourself permission to alter your taste buds and alter kind of what's going on inside your body. And I promise you, it's just the craziest thing. Like your body just adjusts and says, okay, I don't need this anymore. I gotcha. And then you just start craving like different things.
Well, and it's true.
Yeah, sometimes healthier things.
Well,
Yeah.
and on that note, when you start your journey of making that switch, you're going to naturally go for fruits because it's the quickest replacement for the natural high in the sugars,
Yes.
right? But when you get closer to the middle of your journey or even the end of your journey of eliminating yourself from sugar, as I just showed you a bag of jelly, we're human. At the end of the day, I want you all
Everyone's
to know
human.
we're all
Yeah.
human. I've
And
had
I'll go
so,
out to dinner and same
yeah,
and like, yeah, have like real cake at a real restaurant or something. It
yes.
just is what it is. We're human.
I
Yeah.
mean, it comes back to us like, shouldn't you be eating that? And it's funny because those comments we get never come from anybody else in the industry. Those
Yeah.
comments that we get about being a certain shape and size, anybody in our industry, personal development, weight loss, health and nutrition, know that life ebbs and flows. They know that health and beauty come in different shapes and sizes, and anybody in this industry does not go by BMI. So keep that in mind. Yes,
Yeah.
we are real people. We have real moments. I'm just sitting here sharing with all of you that I have a jelly bean binge problem. No, I go through maybe a bag a month, most months. That's not too bad. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
all done in one
that's
week.
really not that much.
Sometimes it's all done in one day. I'm keeping it real here. But near the end of your journey, because we're all at different stages, and check in with yourself to see where you're at now with your stage. Are you friends with food? When you eat food, do you tap into your hunger, your cravings, your fatigue, your energy? And these are some of the areas I coach people on, and it's very similar to Carly with the mindset that you were talking about, that all play a role into why you do what you do when it comes to food. So, did you know, and I'm sure you know this, Carly, already, but did you know that sugar is more addictive than cocaine?
Yes, I did. Yes, 100%.
Impressive, isn't it?
Uh,
So you take that addiction of cocaine, whatever, and knowing that how
yeah.
many people consume sugar without even having a clue the volume that they are eating, just unaware, just no judgment, just simply unaware. And please take the judgment
Yeah.
out of the equation. Because as soon as the judgment is there, is when the purging of sorts begins. And I'm sure
Yes.
binging is one thing, but the purging is another thing, right? And that has different results. Results.
Yeah. It's like we want it out of our system. We hate what we've done. So yes,
Guilt.
you're right. It's like don't judge yourself for having that component. There's a level of we're not educated in school. We're not taught to read labels and not realizing, to a certain degree, there are some great companies out there, but there's also companies that specifically want to ensure the sugar's in there to ensure you stay addicted to their products. Like that's the truth.
That's the truth.
So
And
there's a level of
pharmaceutical,
awareness that's not going to be out there.
I was
Mhm.
gonna say, and
Yeah,
pharmaceutical supports that, right? Because that's where the money is. So
it
it's up.
does.
You don't go to
Yes.
a doctor, you don't go to the hospital for wellness, right? You're going for medicine, you're going for treatment.
Mhm.
You're not going for preventative for the most part. They're not helping you with wellness, they're helping you with a band-aid for the most part. It's up to you to
Yes.
come up with that solution. So we were talking about extremes and where you are on that journey, and how at the very beginning of your journey, when you decide to step away from sugar, you will do maybe artificial sweeteners because it's easy. You will do a little bit more fruit because it tastes good and sweet. But as you go through that journey and you start making other switches, because I want to reiterate here, it is literally about starting where you're at right now. It's
Mhm.
not about where somebody else is at. It's not where I am at with my journey. My journey is different than Carly's journey. Our journeys are different than your journeys. So start where you're at. But as you go through your journey, fruit is going to taste too sweet. You don't want it because it all you can taste is the natural sugar in fruit, and it is too much. And that is a very interesting place to be. Have you noticed that before, Carly, with yourself?
Yes. Yes. That definitely does sometimes happen. Yeah. And I love what you said, where it's like, don't compare yourself to me, don't compare yourself to you. And this is so important because when you're thinking about like starting where you're at, if anyone compares themselves to me, you, any person in the outside world, what winds up happening is imposter syndrome comes in and you lose sight of your own personal goals, like what you would really love to be. Where would you love to be in your health, your wellness, right? Not like that band-aid, but your actual wellness. And you disconnect from that. And imposter syndrome comes in whenever we have those comparisons. And the best way to include comparisons in your life is not to an outside source, because you're not any person other than yourself, but compare yourself to the own, like your own journey, your own goals, your own life purpose. And if it's part of your purpose to create that wellness, it's like go out and utilize all the information out there, utilize the books, the information, the coaches, workshops, everything that you have access to. But make sure when you incorporate it, it's like you're incorporating it not just in the way you're taught, but also in the way that's in alignment with your own true purpose, what's important to you, because that'll help you keep your mindset on track and you'll be more fulfilled to actually go through this journey. Because if you're not interested in like health and wellness and stuff, get interested by making sure it's in alignment with what is actually important to you.
And it's going to look different for everybody, but keep in mind it's going to look different at every stage as well. So you cannot compare a, okay, I'm going to use my example, my personal real life example here. I cannot compare my almost 50-year-old self. I'll be 50 in July. And as of now, it's middle of March. That's why I'm in green, March 17th, although this is going to be posted about 2 months from now, so a little bit closer to July. I cannot compare my 50-year-old self being out of commission with bilateral Achilles tendinopathy, closing my studio down, being in physio for 4 years, unable to walk, to the person I was teaching 23 fitness classes a week. Of course I've gained weight, right? Like that's a very, very strong, almost unemotional person that can say, oh, I just ended a dream. Okay, that's not going to bother me. Okay, I can't walk and move a muscle, but that's not going to bother me. And I'm not going to rely on food. You need to understand the stages that you're going through. It's the same thing if you're a new mom. It's the same thing if you're going through a divorce or you're going into a new job. You need to be looking at this from a holistic perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you put this and how you kind of explain that with your own journey, because the most amazing thing about this is I know that as a result of all of those challenges that you're going through and you have gone through, it's not even to say like you're mastering fitness and health and wellness to a greater degree. And I think like sometimes people judge themselves for going through health challenges and problems, but understand the more health challenges you go through and the more that you have those problems, the more you're going to research it and the more you're going to learn about it and the more that you actually have tools and mastery behind it. Like it's a catch 22, and the more that it's actually going to be of value to you. Individuals who and I know everyone who's listening to this who has like health challenges, you're going to get what I'm saying. Individuals who don't have health challenges don't think about health. You'll go to a restaurant and you'll see how they eat. You'll see how they kind of don't think about what's going on the back end. They don't think about the long-term impact of what they're doing to their body. But when you go through these health challenges, it's not even to say that there's anything wrong with you or there's something, again, there's no judgment. It's just an opportunity for you to gain more mastery in something that's actually important to you. Like it's quite inspiring. And it's so funny because even in my own industry around human behavior, if I don't have challenges within human behavior in my own life, I'm never going to learn how to get mastery in that specific area. Part of getting the mastery is not just reading books and studying it, but it's having the challenges ourselves, implementing it, and then we share it with people as we continue to go along our journey. So I think that's like a really important thing to remember.
And it's not linear, right? We're all over the
Mm-mm.
place. And the biggest takeaway so far is awareness. It took me recently, and I've loved jelly beans most of my life. You see, I have three girls and we're all really close in age. Well, they are really all close in age. I'm a little bit separate. um, and two of them had allergies. So I actually, nothing was mine. Even to this day, clothes weren't mine. My iPad is with one of my kids. Like things weren't mine. So in order to have anything I wanted, I had to find things that they didn't like. Unless they were really bugging me and I would eat peanuts in front of them. You want this? You're not getting it. But but how is this serving me? It wasn't until recently that I realized, why am I so tired? Why am I not making decisions? And those are the days I get into jelly beans or another source just like it. Like, those marshmallow, strawberry, and bananas?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And
Okay.
I love this, like, yeah, I love that you're talking about this too, because it's like, you're like, why am I so tired on that days? But here's the cool thing is also like, why was it so important for you to be tired? Because if we know that these foods are going to make us tired, because I do this to myself too. It's like, sometimes I know something's going to make me tired and I'll eat it. And then I'll be like, why did I want to be tired right now? And I'll be like, oh, I've been working like 7 days straight, like 12 hours a day. This is me trying to slow myself down. Okay, got it. Thank you. And I say, thank you, Carly. I'm done. I'm walking away from the computer. I'm taking a break. I'm going to go sit down and do something else. So that's how powerful we are.
It is. And when we don't realize what we're doing, when we don't realize that, okay, so now that I know that jelly beans make me tired, they should not be in my drawer. And you're probably listening to this, guys that are our audience, thinking you guys are two health coaches and you don't know what makes you tired. You don't know. until you do the work. You don't know until you connect the dots. You don't know until you have
Yeah.
a reason to know because it's so personal. Every single one of us
Mm.
is different. So, Carly, I'm trying to be respectful of time. I know you have another commitment. So, we talked quite a bit about meals, which is food. We talked a lot about mindset and how it intertwines. So, share with us what movement looks like to you.
Movement is make sure, I cannot stress this enough, do something you love. Just do something you love. Like, don't try to hit the gym if you hate the gym. Don't do it. I love yoga, so I take yoga classes. When I'm not in LA right now, but when I am in LA, I love being outside. I love the beach and I love rollerblading. So they have an awesome bike path there that I've rollerblade. Do something that you love so it doesn't feel like exercise. If you want to hike, hike, whatever that looks like to you. But there's so many different fitness opportunities. Like, I know people who love to dance, do whatever you love. Yeah. And then it's not exercise, it's just something you enjoy.
Okay, so I'm going to tap into this really quick, and we'll circle back to the money one. I really hope we have time to do this, but I know you do human behavior. Do you tap into human design?
No, not so much the human
Okay.
design component in that specific
Okay.
form. I definitely tap into like life purpose, but in a little bit of a different way.
Okay, so we haven't had the guest speaker on
Mhm.
human design yet, but I've done some digging and I know that I'm a generator. Okay. 70% of the population is generate. I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm a generator. So there's 4 or 5 different types of human design. Generator, manifesting generator, projector. Do you remember the other ones?
I don't remember.
Okay, it
So
doesn't matter. I am a generator.
yeah.
Okay, so what I've learned
Okay.
about with my numbers and the fact that I'm a generator is I physically need to move my body. If I am not tired, I cannot rest. On the days that I don't work out, there's an impact for me. And it's probably the same with everybody else. You just don't realize it yet, right? Like
Mhm.
you, I like to be outside,
Yeah.
but this is a physical part of my design. And how many people have this physically in their designs and they don't realize what they need to? I always knew I needed enough work, rest, and play. And if I didn't get enough work, sorry, work isn't the issue. If I didn't get enough play, I couldn't rest. I couldn't unfold and physically rest. I just couldn't. And that is something to keep in mind when it comes to movement. So I loved what you said. Do what you love. And for some people, you just have to do something. Like you have to start somewhere. Okay. Last question before we sign off here. Where, so when I say what is your relationship with money, I want you to put into perspective
Uh-huh.
stressors. We're not talking about what's in your
Yeah.
bank account, but money is normally the
Yeah.
fundamental stressor when it comes to personal judgment, personal relationship, and external
Yes.
relationships. So where do you say
Yeah.
you're at right now with that?
So when it comes to money, here's an interesting thing. Like, I know so many people judge themselves around finances and they'll be like, I don't have enough money. I can't make enough money. Money is part of your purpose, just like everything else. And if you can't see how it's going to sync up with something that's purposeful to you, you're actually not going to put the effort in to make the finances, right? Elon Musk is a really easy example because he's super obvious. He has such a high purpose around getting to space that he wants to make as much money as possible, not to buy a house or a car or anything. He lives pretty modestly, but to put it right back into his vision, right back into his mission. So when we think about money, right, I think about money as a tool. Money is a tool to help me not only have the things that are important to me, but also a tool to create like the impact that I want, a tool to build on my vision and my purpose, right? So money can be an incredible stress if you're not actually seeing what it is. It's a machine. It's not an indicator of how amazing you are or how shitty you are. It's just a part of like a machine. That's it. And if you're stressed out about meeting day-to-day finances, then it's just about increasing the value on the money you have so that every month, instead of maybe spending a little extra, because this isn't going to be a control thing, you're intrinsically inspired to maybe save, maybe invest, maybe research something else. Maybe you're like inspired that month to be a little bit more frugal, but people who value money, generally, if they have a tight month, you know what they do? They go out and they find work. and they're humble enough. And I see this even like with myself, like as an entrepreneur, like I've been doing this for quite some time, but entrepreneur has ebbs and flows. And I've had low months before, especially starting off, but I was humble enough to just not be like, I love money enough and it's purposeful enough that I'm not going to drain my bank account. And I was like, great, part-time work, full-time work, I don't care. It's more important to me to have that than to drain that component. So it's realizing it's just a tool. It's just a tool.
And there's no shame at all. And a lot of entrepreneurs think
No.
this way, but there is no shame in doing something different while you're building your business, or if things slow down a little bit. I mean, there's actually a huge benefit because it keeps your mindset focused on the good instead of
Yeah.
in the abundance versus the lack. Because when we're sitting in that space of
Yes.
overthinking, we're never going to get what we're looking for. Carly, I want to give you a big fat hug, but it's hard to do that over the internet. So maybe we'll have to go rollerblading together. It's been a while. I'm
Okay.
going I'm going away
Done.
on a retreat next weekend, and as I mentioned, it's the end of March here right now at the time of this video, and we were told to bring our rollerblades or our ice skates. And I'm bringing both because I'm
So
hoping my
fun.
ankles. Oh, you should see I'm signed up for cross country skiing. Signed up for something else too. Oh well, like 4 different events. But if I can rollerblade or cross country
Yeah.
or ice skate, I don't know. My ankles haven't tried either one of those disciplines since
Yeah.
they've been out of recovery. But I am running again. So
Awesome.
yes, guys, we would both love to hear your biggest takeaways from today, what you're implementing the most. I'm going to put the links to the book Food as Fuel, and I might be wrong. It might not be what it is, but it's where dates is the main component for all of the sugary base. And Unbearable Lightness, I will include in the show notes. You're going to have Carly's contact information in there and mine. And thank you so much for being a part of our journey today. Bye, guys. Thank you.